All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started because we got like 20-ish people and we're already 10 minutes over. If people will trickle in the middle of it, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, basically, welcome guys to this talk show I'm starting. It's called The Hype. This is the first time doing it. I announced it a while back. And as promised, the first few episodes are going to highlight the teams that are attending ESEA LAN, at least the North American teams. I don't know if I'll be able to get in touch with ESEA Games or not. I don't even know if they're still called ESEA Games. I guess that's their unofficial name for now. But anyway, with me is seangares from compLexity, and essentially what we're going to do this episode, or my plan is to do like a brief history of the team. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but some people asked for it because some people are new. Like a lot of people came in after DreamHack and were unaware that there was like this big competitive scene, so I figured I would at least briefly cap some history. Then the big topics we'll talk about is DreamHack winter, because that was the big event for you guys, and then of course like the future. And, you know, we'll take questions and stuff like that as well. So the history, right? So if I remember this correctly, like, let's talk, like, post-CGS era Counter-Strike, right? Because CGS was, like, either what some people would call killed Counter-Strike, or at least, like, gave it some temporary, like, podium, right? There's, like, so many different opinions about that. Anyway, so the way I viewed it was, like, post-CGS Counter-Strike was kind of dominated in the 1.16 by Evil Geniuses, right? So, like... Fraudstorm and Warden come back to 1.6. They join EG with nothing, and that team kind of dominates for a while, in North America at least. Did you or did you not temporarily play on that team at one point?
The one with Lurpus and nothing in them? No, I was never on that team. I did get a couple offers to the old compLexity, like with Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was back when they picked up Impulsive. They were looking for me to join the team, and I declined. And looking back, it probably wasn't the best move as far as like my CS career could have gone, but I've always been someone that's been a little bit loyal, whether it's been too loyal or not, to the players I play with. So I ended up staying with the guys on my team, and yeah, and eventually it worked out down the road. We won like a couple of the last 1.6 titles as far as invite goes.
Right.
But yeah.
So I think I have this right, though. You were back-to-back gaming was, in fact, at one point, you, Swag, Nothing, and Symphis, right?
Yeah, it was. And so, yeah, I guess 4/5 of our team did come from that back-to-back lineup. That was the last season that I played of 1.6. And, yeah, I mean, that was a frustrating season because it was one of those things where, as a leader, it was really hard to get everyone motivated, and because there really was no competition that season, so we were just stomping people in scrims, and it was hard for anyone to practice, especially Jordan, when he had already seen such more competitive times as far as North American Counter-Strike went. So that season was kind of a drag, and it really was the end of my 1.6 career. After that was over, I just couldn't take it anymore.
Right, yeah, because that was after EG had already folded, and so Nothing was just kind of like looking for a team to play with, and he joined up with you guys. So yeah, 4/5 of the current compLexity lineup actually played 1.6 together. I want to say like maybe 3 years ago. So I mean, you guys run pretty deep, and I think Hiko was playing for Check 6 at the time, so he was at a LAN event that you guys were at as back-to-back. So I mean, he knew you guys from 1.6 as well, obviously. But the way that this all happens for CSGO, so let's like fast forward a good bit, was Area 51, right? Or at first you were like unsponsored, but then Area 51 picks you up right before ESWC 2012. And you guys won, like, it was like a qualifier LAN at, what was that? It was like a Game Comms event. It was sponsored by Plantronics. I remember that pretty vividly.
Yeah, it was the PAX Prime event in Seattle, which was awesome. That was such a crazy event for us because Hurricane Isaac was hitting New Orleans literally right as that event was taking place. So I had no internet for maybe a week or a week and a half before the LAN, and I was just sitting in my cousin's boyfriend's house with like a generator watching demos. It was crazy. I don't know how we beat Dynamic at that LAN because they were so good. They were like stomping people, and it was just such an upset in my mind that we beat them at that tournament, and kind of that's what really snowballed our momentum going forward with CSGO, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. I mean, Dynamic was like this hot team that came out of Counter-Strike Source that was winning almost every single ESEA LAN, taking second place to ESEA Games at almost every international event. with the exception of like towards the very end, Steel got like a team together that was able to beat them a couple of times, like once at ESEA LAN and once at ESWC 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So that was kind of big. But anyway, so you guys beat out Dynamic. It was Hold Mouse 1, which was a team with Michael 3D and Emung and all those guys that would become Curse later. And then DTA, which was another team that was pretty decent, I guess. But anyway, so you go to ESWC 2012, and this is like a Kickstarter event for CSGO, right? It wasn't like not all the 1.6 teams had transferred yet, so like your Navi, your Astounded Dragon type teams, your Fnatic, they weren't there yet. But NIP was there. NIP had already made the jump. This was one of their first events, and basically you go in the group play. You guys like open up the event with a 16-0 against the Brazilian team, which was the one that Kogu was playing for, that pro gaming TD team. And then you go on to tie Mouse Sports on Nuke. You lose to NIP in group play, I think 16-10 on Inferno. But then you would go on to take third place in the event after losing to Very Games in a best of 3, even though you took one map off of them. And then you beat N Faculty to take third place. And this is right before the season 12 ESEA LAN. So, like, what's like happening in this part of y'all's career? I mean, do you feel like your team at this point was already like an international contender as it has been now, or have y'all grown a lot since then?
I don't know. I can't really remember what I thought of the team back then. I was so unsure of how we would place at ESWC, especially after our boot camp. Our boot camp we thought would be so much more productive than what it was. We ended up being at this LAN center in Paris. There's only really one LAN center in all of Paris that's capable of running CSGO, and it was horrible conditions, like 60 hertz monitors, maybe like 60 FPS, and it would dip when you went in smokes and things like that. The game was much different as far as Molotovs go, and even at the tournament we used like a save round strat that you couldn't run today because the money system has changed. So we were really unsure of how we would place. I think Days was a little bit more confident than I was because we played a couple teams at that boot camp that kind of wiped the floor with us, and we weren't really sure. I wasn't really sure if it was the computers or if it was them being more prepared than us. But I remember that a Nexus team, which ended up being Western Wolves, just completely running over us, like 16-1 on Inferno. And I saw what they did. Like, I felt their strats, and that was something that I didn't really ever feel in North America when I was playing CSGO at that time. And I kept reflecting back on that scrim even after ESWC that I wanted to play more like them, and I wanted to incorporate more of our 1.6 play styles into our gameplay, run more executes like that Western Wolves team. And that was one thing that I kind of took away from ESWC after that ended, after scrimming those guys. And obviously Very Games was kind of a similar thing that we ran into. They're a lot more prepared as far as tactics at ESWC. I think we still came pretty close to beating them. They used a lot of things like one-way smokes, and they were really good with Molotovs at that LAN. And I think RPK had like really sick bomb train smokes and stuff on the old train that he could just hide in and see us, and we couldn't see him, and it was super lame. But I mean, that was CS at the time. Right.
So you want to take in third place at that event. I mean, you took a map off Very Games, which at that point in time was kind of an accomplishment because they were such a good team, and they still are. So then you go to season 12 ESEA LAN, and it was, don't get me wrong, like this is probably one of the lamest LANs that happened, even though like it was kind of understandable because it was so like new of a game at this point. But we originally were supposed to have like, I think maybe we were supposed to have 4 teams or 6 teams or something like that. And Curse couldn't attend because some stupid shit happened apparently. Like somebody broke their wrist, and then somebody quit the team at the same time, and so they couldn't attend. And they had won out that whole season, right? Weren't they like 16-0 or something like that in the regular season? Like it was just craziness that they couldn't attend. It kind of sucked. So it winds up being a 3-team LAN. It's you guys, Dynamic, which was pretty much the same as the Source roster, except they had Swag and Kiko at this point. And then they had the DTA roster, which was like Riddick, TCK, or no, maybe not TCK. TCK was with you guys, but it was like Riddick and Frost and all kinds of other guys. And you want to take them first at that pretty much handedly. Like, you didn't really struggle too much. Dynamic actually did. They almost didn't even make it to the finals. And so that was like a huge thing there. So this is kind of where I guess your team like starts asserting North American dominance, but then you leave right after this LAN's over. So maybe like it was never really clear to anybody like why you left that team, and because it goes on to be Quantic after this event, but you're no longer a part of it for a while. So what? Maybe you can shed some light on this. I think this is maybe the most confusing thing that happened in esports and Counter-Strike.
Yeah, well, there was like a couple things that happened around that time, and I think it was around Christmas time because, yeah, I ended up planning to go on a cruise, and I knew with my job, I was actually working for my cousin's company, kind of in between school. And I knew that I didn't want to keep taking off for all these events. They had already planned to go to Copenhagen Games, and I knew that there was probably more LANs coming up down the pipeline. I mean, we talked about going to, I think it was Ryu LAN at that time. We were planning on going to that, and then when I quit, I just think they decided not to. And basically, it just wouldn't have worked out. In addition to that, I think Dazed and I weren't seeing eye to eye at that time on a couple strats and things I was calling. I was the in-game leader for that team, and I was calling everything. Although a lot of it was like kind of his theories that he brought from source, and I was okay with that at the time. And it just kind of I evolved as a shot caller after being in Europe, where I wanted to call a certain way more. I wanted to run more executes and just do things a little bit more with a 1.6 feel. And I don't think he was ready to make that transition. And we weren't really seeing eye to eye at that time. And coupling that with the work problems that I talked about, it wasn't working out. So I decided to step down and just take some time off from the competitive scene.
Right. I think you played main with some friends or something like that for a little bit. And, you know, I've actually noticed this, and maybe you can, like, give a little bit more insight on the Daze. I feel like no team works with Daze unless he's the in-game leader. Like, is that maybe a fair statement? Or because almost every team I've seen him on, especially coming from Source, he was always, like, this, like, in-game leader role, and people respected him for, like, his, like, strats and stuff like that, netcode Illuminati stuff, you know what I mean? People were super into it. But so when you two meet together on the same team, you're like this mastermind from North American 1.6 when it comes to strat calling, and he's like the source mastermind, and you're like coming together. In theory, you would think, oh, we get the best of both worlds on a CSGO team. This should work out really well. But in reality, it seems like you butted heads.
I mean, I don't think so. Honestly, I really still, even to this day, respect Daze tremendously as far as CS goes. I'd say him and Steno have done like the most as far as shaping my thoughts as far as CS goes.
Okay.
But yeah, just at the time, I think he wanted to play a certain way, I wanted to play a certain way, and it was just so different. We both wanted to go in like different directions, and I think now, looking back on it, we probably both went about it in like really bad ways, and I think boot camps can help that kind of stuff. Like when we went to Sweden for this last boot camp, it was so productive, and we really ironed out a lot of our problems. I mean, after each scrim, we talked about stuff that went wrong, and people really started to accept criticism in a different way that I feel like Americans don't. Americans aren't as accepting of that criticism as I feel Europeans are, and I think that's just because Europeans tend to be more blunt. I don't know if that's how they're raised or what. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't work out back then.
I hear you. I mean, he's certainly a great player. He still is today. So definitely a great guy. But basically, I'm going to gloss over this really quick because this doesn't really involve you much. So Quantic goes on. So Hiko and Simphis remain. TCK even remains for a while as well. So pretty much you're the only person that left. Frost comes in to take over your place. They do go on to Copenhagen Games. They're able to go through FM Toxic, Alternate, Mouse Sports, Curse really well. They lost 2-1 to Virtus Pro, and then they lose to Very Games in the lower bracket. This was that weird bracket tournament. It was like best of 3 in the upper bracket. Once you're in the lower bracket, it's a single map. It was kind of crazy. But anyway, so they go on to take, I think, 5th, 6th place at Copenhagen. Then they go on to the Season 13 LAN, and this was like a huge statement for North America because they beat all the North American teams, no problem. But then they beat ESEA Icy Box, a team with like Taz, Neo, and all that, 2-0. And then they 2-0 Very Games, which was super huge at this time because Very Games was like considered number 2 team in the world. They beat them on Inferno in overtime, close match on Cash, and they go and lose to NIP. in the grand final. So they're, you know, second place at the event, really, really well. But then a whole bunch of drama happens at this point, and I'm sure you're aware of it. I'm going to, like, say what I think I know, and then you can tell me I'm wrong, basically. That's how we're going to play this. So after the LAN's over, you would think, oh, my goodness, Quantic beat Varigames 2-0. You know, they're looking pretty sharp, right, with the exception of kind of folding to NIP pretty quickly. Great team, right? Well, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, from what I understand, apparently Daze and Symphis started not seeing eye to eye. And so I guess Daze wanted to get rid of Symphis. Hiko was like, no, basically, because they were been playing together for a while. And so they decide to leave and create their own roster, which is the roster that we see today, which is when they pick up Swag from Dynamic. They picked up Nothing from Dynamic as well, because those two were playing for Dynamic at the Season 13 LAN. And then you come back, and then there's like this whole debate over like who gets the sponsorship of Quantic. Is it like Hiko and Symphis who have left and made their team, or is it Dazed, who is still technically captain of the team? He still has Frost and TCK at the time. He's like searching for 2 other players. He bounced through a crap ton of people. It never really panned out, and then he winds up going to play Call of Duty. So what did I miss here? What did I screw up? Because this was kind of a big thing.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head right there. I think I don't really know specifically what happened, to be honest. I think kind of Daze felt like after that LAN, I mean, I'm just kind of speaking, kind of guessing on everything, but they played a lot of close matches, and that ESC team, actually, I think they handled them pretty well in the upper bracket, and then they ended up playing them again in the lower bracket, and I don't know if they went on 2 maps or 3 maps.
What happened was ESC beat them in the upper bracket, and then they played in the lower bracket semifinal, and they 2-0'd them, because they beat them on mill in overtime, and then they beat them like pretty squarely afterwards on D2. Like they wiped the floor with them on Dust 2.
Okay.
So that's what happened. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I know that ESC raped them pretty hard the first time around, and then they beat ESC the second time around. And then those matches against VG were just so crazy. Like as far as like they did win a lot of clutches. And I'm not saying that they were lucky for winning or anything like that, but like as a leader, when you look at your team and you're winning a lot of 1v3s, I mean, even when we're scrimming and we're playing matches, if we win a 1 versus 3, I'll often say things like, wow, we're lucky to win that round. And you'll look back and be like, well, how did it get to a 1v3? And I think that's how Daze looked at that LAN. He didn't look at the placing. He looked at, well, what happened to get us to the 1v3? Because if that happened again, we probably don't win that 1 versus 3. And he probably tried to make a couple changes, and I can't blame him for that because he saw some problems and he wanted to fix them. I mean, I don't really know the specifics in that, and maybe him and Corey didn't see eye to eye. I wasn't aware of the problem still after the LAN. Corey PM'd me and said, kind of Daze is looking at cutting me. What are you doing? Do you want to like remake a team or whatever? I may be able to get Brax and we can bring together all these people. And then it came down to whether we wanted to play with Nothing or TCK. And we weren't really sure of TCK's dedication at the time. We weren't really sure of Jordan's dedication either in CSGO. And we ended up choosing Jordan just kind of because we had that experience with him in 1.6. And he promised us that he would be really dedicated, and he has been. So,
yeah.
And that's how this team kind of formed from that ESEA LAN. And that's my guess as far as what happened at, as far as the crumbling of Quantic. And then the keeping of the sponsorship thing, I don't really know about that. I think Hiko kind of held the key to that as far as Sambuca goes. So because Hiko was in constant contact with Sambuca throughout the sponsorship, I think that's why he got to keep it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was weird, yeah.
It was weird. Sambuca recently got into some huge trouble, by the way. Did you hear about that?
No, what happened with him?
Apparently something about not paying out money to, like, Quantic Hyun from StarCraft 2 or something like that. Maybe it wasn't him. It was somebody. It was Quanic though, and I think it was him because he was still helping with it after you guys left Quanic or whatever. So I think it was him. It was kind of huge news in the StarCraft 2 scene. Anyway, something like 20 something $8,000 went missing. Like yeah, it was huge. Like Hyun's whole salary. Anyway, forget that.
Holy shit.
Anyway, y'all can look that up on like Team Liquid. Anyway, so essentially, yeah. So this comes to the nothing debate, right? Because everybody knows this famous video, right? Everyone's seen it. He's like running through a smoke grenade on Mirage, and he's like, "I hate this game," basically. Okay, that's not what he said, but that's how people took it, right? And then there was also what you already mentioned with back-to-back gaming, like, is this dude's motivation still here? You know, he's used to way bigger competition, like, where CS is held at a higher regard. He's kind of used to, like, this heyday period. And, I mean, but like you said, he winds up being hugely dedicated. Now he's, like, a big-time streamer, you know, right? Like, he seems super dedicated to the game, so... How did that evolve? How does it go from frustration to dedication for this guy?
I don't know. Jordan has like two completely different modes, which is like a crazy thing about him is everyone knows like the fun and like crazy Jordan where he's like dancing all over the place and like doing crazy shit from his stream. And a lot of people didn't know that that side existed. And then there's also like a switch he can just flip where he becomes super serious and he'll take over a mid game round like randomly. And it's crazy. So he can flip that switch, and I think that's kind of what he did as far as CS goes when this team formed. I don't think he was really taking it seriously at the time the team formed, and even the couple weeks afterwards, he was kind of like running a little bit late for practice here and there, and we just kind of let it go because there was no competitions on the horizon. I don't think at that time. It was just like we were starting off the ESEA season, so we started off a little bit bumpy. But I don't even blame that all on Jordan. I blame that really on myself and a lot of other factors. But yeah, his dedication now, I mean, as you can see, he's playing a lot, and we're not even playing over this break. He's doing that on his own time. So his dedication as far as the game goes, and I think his like revival as far as, yeah, I mean, he sees the competition and he wants to be number one again. And that's something that he didn't really have at the end of 1.6 because, I mean, he didn't really see where the game was going, I think. Mm-hmm. And now that he's seeing the progression of CSGO as a game, he appreciates what Valve has done as far as some updates. I think there are a few changes Valve can make, but...
we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be a question.
It's definitely... He's definitely become highly motivated now.
Okay, so then we get into Season 14. So this is actually last season's ESEA LAN. So now we're about to get into recent shit where the people actually care about. Essentially, you guys get the compLexity sponsorship, first of all, which is huge, right? compLexity comes back to Counter-Strike, and y'all were probably the best squad that was available since Curse was already like a hugely sponsored team at the time. So you roll into ESEA LAN, and the storyline for this event is like just off the hook because, you know, only NIP is there, so that's like kind of sucky. But then there's this huge North American rivalry that now exists. You know, it's Curse versus compLexity. Who is the best team? It's like almost Source versus 1.6 in a sense for the most part, even though Skadoodle didn't come from either Counter-Strike. But, you know, it's basically Source versus 1.6, the top two North American teams. This is it. And then you go in and you go 0-2 against them in the upper bracket. Now, I just want to point this out. Your team always loves to go to the lower bracket, apparently. Y'all are lower bracket warriors. Like, you always just come strong in the lower bracket. That's why I never even worried. Like, someone said, oh, compLexity lost the upper bracket. Like, that's fine. They're still going to make it to the lower bracket final. Anyway, so point is you get 0-2'd by Curse. Inferno was crazy. It was like a 22-20 double overtime. So it's like a marathon match. Anything happens at that point, right? And then, of course, they get you on Cash and Map 2, which I know is your favorite map, Sean. Like, right? Isn't Cash your favorite map? Just say no.
It's crazy because...
Go ahead, yeah. Walk us through this match.
Yeah, so Inferno, that was a really embarrassing match for us to lose because we were such a better team on Inferno in that match. I mean, they kept doing these, like, B hits, and we felt the B hits, and we just, like, would have 3 people there, and they would still be able to take it. And I think if we were to replay that match 20 times, they wouldn't be able to take B as many times as they did. I don't know. We switched some stuff up after that LAN. And even after that match, and we ended up taking them the second time around, I think, on Inferno.
Yeah, we'll get to
pretty
that.
easily. But Cash, as far as Cash goes, yeah, that was the fact that Cash even ended up in that VO3 is totally my fault.
Yeah, it is.
I
I
tried
was
to,
like, why didn't Sean veto this? Like, I
I
was so
tried,
confused.
yeah, I tried to like
Didn't you
game
roll
it.
the dice? Yeah, you rolled the dice. Well,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead, explain the
So
roll the dice gamble here.
I looked at their scrim stats, right? So going into the LAN, they were something absurd, like 30-1 in scrims, and their one loss was on Cash, and it was against total nubs, like just
Oh my
people
god.
that I had never even heard of. So I figured they didn't really practice it because it was the only time they played Cash, and I figured after they lost it, they were like, "There's no way we're playing Cash at LAN. We lost to these guys, and we beat everyone."
They're a source
So,
team, Sean. Come on.
so I was like, "All right, let's roll the dice here. I will eliminate." I don't know what I eliminated instead of Cash, but I eliminated something instead of Cash, thinking that they would eliminate it for me with their last veto, and it didn't end
No.
up happening.
I
And
wish I would have spoken with you before this veto process, because a source team will never veto Cash.
now we
We'll
now we
veto
actually
Cash.
like Cash.
Okay.
To be honest, we're gonna practice it today. That's
Okay.
one of the things that we're gonna go over.
That's
today.
your European secret map against Very Games. Heard it here first. Anyway.
Yeah.
So basically,
But,
you lose the curse in the upper bracket. It was a close Inferno game. Could have gone either way. But then Cash. I'll just leave it at that.
oh,
But no excuses. You should have won that anyway. So no excuses here. But then after that, you pretty much just roll through the rest of the tournament up until the grand final. So you 2-0 Monomaniacs at the time, which is like people that are now on United 5 and stuff in Reliable Gaming. That team kind of split. Then you have Frost Gaming that you beat, which is like some of the players from Homeless, and then Mo was on Reliable. So you kind of wiped the floor with them. So then you get the curse again, lower bracket finals, right? So boom, we're back to North American rivalry. We saw an OT game on Inferno. We saw a Cash match, which was just like unfulfilling to the max extent. Like it just wasn't that really great of a match either way. So we're like, all right, so what's going to happen here, right? This is for all the marbles now. This is to play Nip. And you 16-2 them on DDoS 2 right off the bat. And all of a sudden, everybody's just like, whoa, like, what the hell? Like, complete 180. And the reason why is because Dust 2 is so unpredictable for you guys because you're really good at Dust 2. Your team is historically very good at Dust 2. If you look at your Dust 2 stats, with the exception of Nip, you guys pretty much do really well on it. But at the same time, like, Adren's teams are always really well known for being really good on DDoS 2 as well. And so it's kind of like, what's going to happen here? And was this when you picked CT side first? Is that like the shocker pick? I remember you did that at one event where you picked CT side first on Dusty. Everybody was like, what the hell?
yeah,
So I can't remember if this was the one or not. It was?
It was, yeah.
Okay, so run us through this.
So, yeah, we go into that match, and even though they beat us, I think they beat us in the regular season on Dust 2, if I remember correctly, in a match. But we are pretty confident in our Dust 2. And I know how those Adren teams play on Dust 2. They have like a really different play style. So, I mean, we play a little bit different for every team we play. And I think at that LAN, Jordan was like, "Yo, let's just start CT side. Let's rape them." And I was like, "Okay."
So
like,
can this be a segue question really fast? How much slack do you give Nothing to kind of do what he wants, like as a strat caller? He seems like the kind of player like you just have to kind of unleash sometimes. So how does that work? Like, what's the balance between like Nothing, go over here and do whatever the hell you want, and then let me know what happens, or like, no, you need to do this. Like, how does that work with player management?
Yeah, I think as like a strat caller, I think I give a lot of the players a lot of freedom. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to call them out for a lot of stuff. And I mean, part of my language, but I can tend to be pretty cunty as far as calling people out in game. I will call people out for everything if I see them do something messed up. But with that being said, I do give them a lot of freedom. And even when they do something crazy and it benefits and they get 3 headshots, I'll still call them out for it if it wasn't the right CS play. So I think Jordan does have a lot of freedom, especially as far as our CT sides go. But yeah, I think everyone on the team has that same amount of freedom. It's not just Jordan.
Right on. All right, so just like quick thing really quick. We're about halfway through the episode, basically. I know like a bunch more people just tuned in. There will be like a full VOD posted up on YouTube after the fact. And yes, I am accepting like some questions I'll get to. You can post them in chat. I have a mod that's like keeping track of them on a document so that I can just have them all right in front of me in a bit. So yeah, ask the questions all you want, but they won't be until the end of the show. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow up, all that good stuff. Anyway, so you beat them on Dust 2 handedly. 16-2 is ridiculous. Like, just everyone turned heads on that. And then you rematch on Inferno, right? So we're expecting big things. It was a double overtime last time that you lost, but this time it's redemption. You win 16-12, and you move on to play NIP. So, yeah, I mean, there you have it. What was different, do you think, between the two? Just like you said, if you played them 20 times, they wouldn't take B as many times. So did you, like, fix that? Is that what helped you finally beat them, or?
Yeah, so going into that second match, I think we tried to control Banana a little bit more. And I told Jordan to play a little bit closer towards B. Just because it didn't really feel like they had an A hit at all the first time we played them. So we were kind of cheating 3 towards B, I think, that match a lot. But again, that's because we felt like they didn't really have an A execute the first time we played them, which I don't understand why they wouldn't, but it felt like they didn't. So even after watching, because I think they may have played NIP on Inferno, and I watched them do the same thing. They just kept like waiting for a while and going B. So I was like, okay, well, we're going to adapt to this a little bit this time around, and we're going to play a little bit cheaty towards B with 3 players. And I think it didn't really work out for them, if I remember correctly. I think we took kind of a big lead on CT side early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's pretty good. All right, so then now we come to the first big statement your team makes to splash a little bit in the water of, like, international CSGO. So you go into NIP in the grand final, and let's be real, you're like the big underdog, right? NIP at this point was the team. I mean, Very Games was like, number 2. But at this point, I think at this point, NIP's still unbeaten. I think they may have dropped maps by this point against Virtus Pro or something at a previous event, but they hadn't dropped a set yet. So you guys go up against them on DDoS 2, and, like, theoretically, this should be, like, your best chance. But you wound up losing 16-11. It wasn't too shabby. But then here comes the big event. You go on to Nuke. You guys start on CT side, and you flop. Like, it's looking really bad. But then out of nowhere, on your T side, you come through and you wind up winning it 16-13. Like, what? Like, how did that feel? Like, you took a map off. You were the 3rd team to take a map off NIP at this point in time in CSGO's history.
Yeah, so honestly, that map was super frustrating because I think T side we actually started off winning Pistol, and then they ecoed us. And the same thing happened the next half. I think we won Pistol, and then they ecoed us again.
Yep.
And it happens every time we play them. I think Daze laughed, and he may have something on his Twitter right now. Because when we were scrimming them, we were boot camping in Sweden, the same shit happened. And they would do the same thing every second round, and it beats us every time, no matter what happens.
You guys hate the 250 armor, man.
Oh my god, they're so insane with it.
It's like Very Games patents this strat that everyone's using now, and it's just like killing teams like in 3rd, 4th round. But go ahead.
Exactly. But then so they win their second round, and I think that puts them on 13 rounds right there. And then Jordan like rushed ramp out of like rage, I think, and got 2, and we ended up counter ecoing them or something crazy like that. And then from there, everything just snowballed, and they couldn't get around, and they were doing all kind of crazy shit, like these crazy upper executes that no one in North America had ever run on us, and they were doing weird outside strats. But I mean, we all really stepped up our game in that match, and everything clicked for us, and they couldn't really put together a round.
Right. So then you win that map, and this is huge. You're like the 3rd team to take a map off them. I think Virtus Pro had done it at one event by this point, and there was one other team that had taken a map, but you're like the 3rd team to do it. You go on to Train, which is like probably the most unfortunate because that was their best map at the time. And it wound up being a 16-10 score, but you take 2nd place at the event. You kind of establish yourself as a North American powerhouse, like if not the best team in North America at this point. And then you just lose to NIP. I mean, that's like everyone's story, right? But then you go on to ESWC 2013. This is the next event that you guys attend right after ESEA LAN or sometime after. And this is like such a weird event for you guys. You start off good, similar to the last ESWC by like 16-0, or actually 16-1 somebody. It was a team from, I think, Pakistan. It was like Eternity. I've never heard of them in my life, so it was like expected, right? Then you go on to play LGB in a close game. some heated words were exchanged. It was like a really dramatic match from what I understand. You wound up beating them 16-14. Was this the situation where somebody was getting harassed while they were surfing by LGB players? I think it was like Hiko maybe.
Yeah, but I think those guys ended up like apologizing or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to
Okay.
like slander them.
No,
at all,
it's
'cause
fine.
They're really nice guys.
They're really good now too. They're like top
Yeah.
3 Swedish team at this point, kind of rivaling Fnatic. So
Yeah, they played just like a Swedish team would. They use a lot of teamwork, kind of group up in packs and like just kind of dry take things based on rotations. So I have a lot of respect for them because I can see like a 1.6 style when I watch them. They play a lot based on rotations and not executes, which is pretty cool. I like watching teams that do that kind of stuff.
So then you go on to beat them, but then you do like the worst thing possible, which is tie Mystique. Like, if you could have done anything else other than tie Mystique, you probably would have been in better shape. But you wound up tying Mystique, which I guess isn't that bad because they wound up winning this event. Even though some people kind of called it a fluke because they weren't able to, like, reanimate that, like, later on. So then, of course, like, what happens? You have to play against NIP in bracket play, your first bracket play round. So that's, like, literally the worst draw you could have gotten. And it's a rematch on Nuke. I mean, this set you pretty much just get skunked. I mean, that's the reality of it. There were moments of hints of brilliance, but it just wasn't enough. And once again, NIP is kind of the team that crushes you. So at this point in, like, y'all's career, really the only team from Europe that's beating you guys is NIP. I mean, you guys are already kind of establishing yourselves. But coming out of this event, like, what's the mindset now? Because at this point, I think you already knew DreamHack was coming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the mindset at this point?
The mindset was like pretty devastating, to be honest, because we really felt pretty good going into that event, especially after playing Clan Mystic. I mean, that was a match that we shouldn't have tied. We were up 10-5, I think, on T-side Nuke, and we may have even won CT Pistol, if I remember correctly. And they just kept doing this vent bomb strat on us, and we blew so many rounds, just like 1v2s, 1v3s, like 2v4s, and they just like grinded back into like that tie that they got, and then we got the nip draw. And going into that Mystic match, we were kind of, or I guess me and Corey, or Corey and I, were kind of debating the fact on whether we should purposely lose that match even.
I remember this. You steamed me this. You're like, yeah. I think it was crazy.
The 2 seeds were almost equally as hard, if not harder, than the 1 seeds. It was like VG and I think maybe like a stop. I don't remember who the 2 seeds were, to be honest. But I remember thinking that the 1 seeds that came out the group might be worse than the 2 seeds. And we had debated on throwing the match, and we decided not to, I think.
Did my opinion actually hold any weight? Because you asked me, and I was like, don't throw, and then you logged off Steam. So I'm sure I had no weight pull at this at all, but it was pretty funny.
But just the fact that we could have drawn NIP if we got second kind of, like, strayed us away from it. Because, I mean, they have had our number a couple times that we played them. Yeah. So we decided that winning would probably be for the best. But with that being said, I think when you're up 10-5, even when you, like, something starts creeping in the back of your mind, I just kind of, like, let off a little bit. And I think we did let off a little bit in that match, and it really bit us in the ass, the Mystic match. But with that being said, when we played NIP in bracket play, it was like a no-show for us. I think they treated us with almost no respect at all. It was crazy. It would be like if we were to play just 5 people we had never heard of in North America. And, I mean, we'd still run strats and, like, do things correctly, but you tend to play a little bit more looser in those situations and peek things a little bit more. And that's what it felt like when we were playing them. And they were just showing us no respect, and they were just raping us. It was crazy.
There you go. So what I want to say at this point is, like, obviously you're disappointed with your results. You got eliminated in the first bracket round, but it was against NIP, right? So at this point, I feel like already your team should, like, be considered exceeding expectations, or at least some of your players should have. I mean, they've already tackled very games at one point and beaten them. The only disappointing thing that's ever really happened to you guys at this point was losing the curse one time at ESEA Season 14 LAN, and then, of course, maybe not playing closer games against NIP and then losing the mystique. I mean, that's like really the disappointments. But then I feel like this is the roller coaster ride now, because right now you're not like at a high plane, but you're kind of you're not low. You know what I mean? Like, you've done some good things so far as compLexity, but then you go to your own online tournament, the compLexity 10-year anniversary tournament. Granted, this is online, so disclaimer, of course. Like, you guys honestly, like, historically don't do very well online. I mean, this season you actually did. I think this is like some of your best online results in a regular season for CSGO this season. But anyway, so I mean, you beat some like no-namer teams. I don't want to say no-namer teams. They're up-and-coming teams, right? So you beat like a couple of the main teams that are in ESEA main teams. But then you lose to iBuyPower. Out of 5 matches you played against each other, you lost 4 of them and won 1. And this is including when you played them in the upper bracket and then the grand final. So this is like right before DreamHack Winter, like literally, I think like within a month. So you're going into DreamHack Winter. At this time, you were the dominant North American team. I mean, you had beat Curse on LAN, but then you had this new iBuyPower roster, right? So it's like the best you could get from Curse, which is like Adren AZK and Anger. And I don't want to get too much into this because I'm doing an interview with iBuyPower for the next episode. So by the way, I have more episodes coming along. I'm already planning them, so just be on the lookout for them. But the point I'm trying to make is I know it's an online tournament, so like maybe that like takes it to like maybe a lower level in your mind of disappointment because it's not on LAN. But what's your mindset now? Because let me just tell you, and like, don't you dare say it was me, because I know you will, but people were hyping the shit out of this team at this point. Like, everybody thought iBuyPower is North America's best chance at like making a splash. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I've always thought iBuyPower was a team that could contend with you guys, and they have done so online on several occasions. Like, what's your mindset now? Because I guess it's like it's your namesake tournament, right? So maybe like you expect to win your own tournament. But I think that the bigger thing to worry about here is you're about to go into like the biggest event of your life, right? I mean, so yeah. How is the mentality at this point? Like, did this affect you at all, or was the 10-year anniversary tournament not that big of a deal in your opinion?
That 10-year anniversary tournament, those losses were so like, God, our losses are just so backbreaking when we lose, I feel like. Other than, I don't know, because I always thought, I don't know if I'd rather get raped in a tournament like how NIP raped us in ESWC, or how iBuyPower beat us in that Cole tournament, where I felt like they just kept grinding out these 3v3s, and the last round on Cash, we felt better than them on that last day, and they just were winning these like 2v4s against us, and 2v1s and 3v3s, and we just kept losing them and losing them and losing them on Nuke, on Cash, and I don't remember the other maps we played, to be honest, but I do remember the last round of Cash. It was like a 3v2 in our favor. We plant the bomb B, and I'm rotating back to B from A after faking, and both iBuyPower guys are like at A, I believe, and I just lag out, and they retake, and I'm just stuck over by A, and it's just like, really? Again? And it's just that those kind of things happen to us. I think we were actually demolishing them on that map, and then Stan subbed in for Anger or something like that, and they won out.
That was Cash, right?
It was insane. Yeah, it was like nothing. I mean, it's not them, it's us, and I don't know why we lost that, but we did, and I mean, shit, that sucked so bad losing that. And that's what the boot camp really served for, as far as like getting us back in the right mindset, because I think you do have to have a certain mindset when you go into those big tournaments. You can't go in thinking that your team is bad, like in bad form. You do have to be confident, because if you don't play with confidence in Counter-Strike, people will run you over, especially in CSGO, where peaking is a little bit more advantageous than 1.6 was.
Right. All right, so real quick, once again, we just spiked in viewers a lot, so I just want to say once again, thanks for all of you for tuning in. If you're not sure why you're here, this is The Hype. It's a new talk show I'm doing where I just kind of talk with North American CSGO people for now, at least, and it's just a CSGO talk show, basically. But this episode is analyzing compLexity. I have Seangares here with me, leading the way, basically, or helping me along. If you missed some of this episode, it's going to be on VOD, on Twitch, as well as YouTube. So don't freak out. You'll get to see all of it. All you've missed so far is just the history of compLexity and its players. And we've just now reached DreamHack Winter, which is the big $250,000 tournament, which is like the biggest topic of this talk show, I think, up except for the future, right? So you go into DreamHack Winter, and you had the boot camp process, and so does iBuyPower. So if I'm not mistaken, there was even instances where you're at the same LAN center boot camping. So here's the thing. No one really knows what happened at your boot camp. I mean, I think you posted one vlog or two vlogs where you're like, here's the LAN center we're playing at. Look at the cool gear. That's not what people wanted to know. People want to know, like, how are you doing? And obviously you don't want to say this stuff, like, before the event. Like, it's so secretive, right? This is how it always happens. You don't want to let anybody know who you've played, what map you played at. Like, none of that is, like, let go. So can you tell us now, like, how did your boot camp go, like, practicing for this event? Like, were you doing well in your scrims for this event? Was the prep going well? Like, can you reflect on that now that it's passed?
Yeah, I think we were doing pretty well. I think iBuyPower is doing a lot better than we were as far as those scrims were going. I don't think they really lost a map. They may have lost a couple against, like, Mouse Sports, I think, which is ironic because those guys didn't make it out of the what was it, BYC,
Yeah.
at DreamHack. But yeah, every time we would watch them, they would do great, and we would go back into, like, our little nip room thing that we were in, and we did good. I'm not gonna lie, we played well. We went over a lot of stuff, but there was also times where we got plowed. I think looking back, a lot of those were on, like, Mirage and stuff. We were really trying to get good on Mirage. That, like, Valve Mirage, we tried so hard, and like, Astana ran us over, like, 26-4 on it, and Nip beat us pretty bad on it, and Copenhagen Wolves beat us bad on it. But then towards the end of the boot camp, we started beating teams on it, so we thought our Mirage was, like, turning around, and we were finally learning some things, so we kept it in at DreamHack against Fnatic, and that didn't work out well, obviously. But yeah. And I think overall we played pretty well. I think we may have won, like, 50% of our maps against NIP, and we played them a lot. Maybe a little bit less, maybe like 40%. But we were playing really well against NIP. We obviously couldn't play against Fairy Games because they were in our group. We beat Fnatic pretty bad, if I remember correctly. We played Fnatic on one map on Inferno because I think they just got back from China.
MSI, yeah.
Yeah, they just got back. We played them on one map that last day, and we beat them pretty bad. So we felt good about playing them, to be honest. And we played SK really well. Mm-hmm. We played Navi pretty well. I think they beat us on a map, though, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, I think we played pretty well. We dropped a map or two because when you're playing 13 hours a day and you slip in a scrim, so, like, you're, like, playing, like, NIP, Astana, Navi, and then you play a team that you've never even heard of, it's so hard to maintain a high level of motivation. So there was, like, a map or two that we would drop to, like, random teams along the way, and it would cause us to kind of snap back into, like, a high motivation level, mm-hmm. which is good. But yeah, I think overall we did pretty well.
Right. So we're going to talk a decent amount about DreamHack Winter because this is, like, the landmark event for CSGO. So first of all, iBuyPower is up first to bat for North America at DreamHack Winter. And I know I'm kind of giving this show, like, a North American focus, but guess what? There's no North American focus talk show for CSGO, so I'm going to do it. You have Podcast, which is a really great show that's, like, more Euro-central. Even though I will have European topics on here at times, but I'm just trying to focus on North America for right now. So iBuyPower is up first to bat, and boy do they strike out, right? So they lose to, who was it they lost to first? Was it Universal Soldiers? Was that the first loss? That was it. So they lose to Universal Soldiers on DDoS 2. Like they like, did you watch these matches? Because they had hints of like Skadoodle probably was having some of his best opping he had on LAN, like, at this point. Like, he was hitting some great picks. Daze was, of course, always on point. He always is. But then, like, other players just were not clicking on that team. Like, Anger would do really well on CT side for a while, holding B, but then he was, like, tanking it on T side. It just seems like a story of inconsistency. Like, they have great potential, but they can't always, like, use it all the time. But like I said, I don't want to get too deep into iBuyPower because they're going to get their own episode. I just want to get your view. After you see this happen, you knowing iBuyPower and the potential they have, the skill they have, does this at all affect your own mindset or outlook on what's about to happen for you guys the next day? Like, how did you take that?
So I didn't get to answer your first question. I didn't get to watch the matches, but we were on our train ride over from Stockholm, which is like a 2-hour train ride for anyone that isn't sure, to Jönköping from Stockholm, where we were boot camping. And I like turned on my roaming on my phone for a second because I wanted to check the updates of the groups, and I saw that Universal Soldiers beat them, and I was kind of surprised because of how well they were doing at the boot camp. Even though when we played Universal Soldiers, I forgot to mention them earlier, but we played them on like I think one map, and they beat us on Nuke pretty bad if I remember correctly. They were playing really aggressive.
Not only that though, but Dazed was like, I mean, they had just beat him at the last ESEA LAN.
Yeah.
It was almost the same team, not quite, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I saw that they beat them, and I can't say I was super surprised, but at the same time, I was surprised because I thought that they had a good shot to beat NIP based on like the results that they were having next to us and how we played NIP. I thought that they could have won that group, but at the same time, it was like Universal Soldiers is a really good team, and the second time around, they'll probably beat them. And then I kind of kept my roaming on, and I don't know. That was a bad idea, to be honest.
How much data did you spend on this train? Okay.
Too much.
That was like such a lame like question. But anyway,
yeah, I was watching the scorebot versus what's KS's team? Recursive, yeah. So I was watching the scorebot against them, and I was really, really surprised when they lost to those guys. Kenny S's team is really good, and Kenny S is insane. He is so good. But I don't know. I didn't see them losing to those guys. I thought they would beat them for sure. Yeah, it was definitely shocking that they lost. I thought that they would probably be a top 4 placing team at that DreamHack based on what I saw at the boot camp. But who knows? I mean, things just may have not gone their way. Certain people may have not performed like they should have. I don't know, to be honest. I didn't really watch the matches. I haven't watched the demos even. So.
Gotcha. So, and I just want to get your perspective on this because really the only North American rival you really have at this point is iBuyPowered. Even though I guess Mousebaz is kind of like shaping up to be like maybe this third team in North America that's like pretty solid. I mean, do you still think that that team is a contender on the international plane even after such a poor performance at DreamHack Winter, or do you think that they've kind of stepped down a notch since you've like last faced them, basically?
No, I think they're definitely still a contender, and I'm actually really excited to see this ESEA LAN because, I mean, that team hasn't gotten to play any of the other American teams. We're the only team that's gotten to play them because we lost to them last season. So when we were in lower bracket, we got to play all the other teams at that LAN. I think we literally played everyone. So it'll be interesting to see how those other teams play against Curse because I don't know, to be honest. I think Curse is well, I still call them Curse.
Yeah, it's okay. iBuyPower. It's all good.
So I am excited to see how they do. I think they are a great team as I would expect with any team with Dazed on it. I mean, they've shaped up a lot since last season. They play completely differently. They play a lot more controlled and not over peaky, which will help a lot as far as LAN goes, which is why I thought they would play well at DreamHack, and I'm so surprised at what happened.
All right.
I do have a lot of respect for them.
All right, so I swear I'm done talking about other teams. It's over. So let's go to you for the rest of the show, of course. So now it's your turn in DreamHack Winter, and you group play comes up, and you play in faculty first, right? Pretty much everybody thought you would win this one. In faculty was like just thrown together at this point, if I'm not mistaken. Like they had just kind of gotten the 5 that they were going to use for this event. And as an organization, like they were like the weakest team at the season 13 global event, and they just never were that dominant. But like lo and behold, they now have like a Swedish roster, if I'm not mistaken. And we're like, okay, so what's going to happen? And I mean, you beat them 16-7 on Inferno, a map you're pretty strong on, so all good. So then it's up against Very Games. Now I just want to like set this pattern for you guys, right? Because there's such a deep history between you and Very Games, more than like any other North American, European like relationship. Like you guys have played each other more than like most North American teams have played European teams. In fact, it's crazy. You guys have actually, like, if you count Quantic, which is Hiko and Symphis, you guys have actually beaten Vari Games every single time you've played them since ESWC 2012.
Yeah.
It's like your Vari Games kryptonite because they're literally considered they were considered the best team in the world because they had beat Nip a couple of times at this point. But you always seem to get the better of Vari Games, and it was Inferno again, the map you had that Quantic had beat them on at the ESEA LAN not too long beforehand as Quantic. So it's a 16-14 score against Vari Games. Walk us through this match because this is like literally some highlight reel clips came from this thing. It was crazy. So walk us through this game.
Yeah, the Vari Games game was absolutely insane. Kind of starting off, the End Faculty match, we were honestly kind of worried about. I think they did play iBuyPower, and they played them well, even though iBuyPower won. And I'm talking about the boot camp, by the way. And iBuyPower didn't really tell us what they did because, I mean, that's not really like a competitive integrity kind of thing. We don't really care to do that. But, yeah, we were worried because that Western Wolves team is actually really strided up, and that's pretty much the foundation of their team. We were surprised that we beat them with the score that we did because I respect them as a strat caller based on like how they play and how controlled they are. So that was a surprise. But anyway, going into Vari Games, yeah, that match was absolutely crazy. And talking with Existence afterwards, and I mentioned this on my stream even, Existence had like an Excel sheet at that LAN with not only all the teams but all the players and like the players' tendencies, like as far as like in a 5v5 where's he going to peak at this time, and if it's a 3v3 what's his tendency, where's he going to go, and what do they like doing on this map, and this that and this. And this Excel sheet was so insane.
I've heard stories about this sheet, but I never got to hear the details, and like, wow, I didn't realize it was that like broken down. So it was insane.
Yeah, basically, after playing them, I mean, he didn't tell it to me, but I can't remember who it was, if it was like Hiko or Corey. But he said that he didn't really expect us to do what we did, and we play so much different, and blah, blah, blah. And that's a large part due to the boot camp. We changed up a lot of things at the boot camp. I was finally able to add in a couple strats that required like a lot of time.
That's smoke grenade strat to pit, right? So the Universal Soldiers Inferno strat.
And that's something that we had online, but it was something that like, it's just as a strat caller, everything has to be perfect for it to work out. And it was something we were able to like iron out going into that LAN because of the boot camp, and it helped so much. So yeah, I don't know. I think we just kind of caught them off guard with a lot of things we did,
especially that last round, right?
Yeah, exactly. The last so kind of diving into like my brain a little bit as far as like what I was thinking, because the last like 2 or 3 rounds were really similar. I think the round before that I called a dry walk up B, and it's basically just because how I know that they play over at the B bomb site with like Existence and Scream. I knew we would be able to get up to the choke point of B before even a smoke was thrown. So we walk up or whatever, and we trade and we take B. And the next round, we kind of run a little bit of a fake off of that, where Jordan's going mid alone and he maintains mid control, and basically it allows us to go back to A, right, because Jordan maintained mid control early.
Did he call the fake, or was it Swag or you?
Brax was like coming in late with the bomb, and he said, should I go back A with the bomb? Should we go back A with the bomb? And when I saw where Jordan was when I like looked to my left, I just said, yeah, go back A. And I started directing like Hiko and Corey, and they had like a million nades. They had like Molotovs and smokes and stuff still because we dry took B. Mm-hmm. So everything worked out really well, and that's how that round worked out, yeah.
That was crazy, man. So at this point, your day was over. You played 2 matches. You kind of watched the rest of the group play out, and then I assume you like went home and like stratted up. So now you're like North America's last hope. Like this is the great mission, and you have Astana Dragons first in the bracket play. This is the quarterfinals, and this was a dicey set because this was the team that you were most afraid of at ESWC, from what I understand. Like you actually at one point favored playing Nip over this team. Like it seemed like you were really frightened by the way they played. And the other side of this story is like the funny haha little jab that I'm gonna do just like for laugh's sake is okay, I guess I can't say it like that. They may have thrown a match to play you in the quarterfinals instead of playing. I think Fnatic they would have played had they have won.
I think VG. No, they would have played VG.
Okay. Either way, they wanted you guys, which I guess like if you're international team and your team has only been to like a couple of international events, whereas Astana Dragons and Very Games are playing international events like every 2 weeks, and it's like who would I rather play, the team that like barely ever plays international events or like Very Games like the best team in the world at this point? Makes sense, right? So you get to play against Astana Dragons. Now you probably knew like that they kind of stratted this, that they wanted you guys, right? So this maybe served as some type of motivation for you, maybe. Like, what were your thoughts going into this set? Like, I'm about to play Astana Dragons. Like, what's going through your head based on like everything that's going on?
Yeah, well, we actually stayed at the venue to watch that Group D because we played before them. So we were watching them play, and I think they were playing Copenhagen Wolves in the upper bracket of their group, and I noticed like they were playing so loose, and I looked over and I was like, are they throwing? And it was kind of confusing because I wasn't really sure if they were throwing because they could still get knocked out of groups at that point. If they were to lose that match and then lose again to SK or whoever else would have advanced, the BYC team, they could have lost in groups. But from what I was told is that they threw that match against Copenhagen Games to get the 2 seed. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. And I mean, we did kind of. I mean, that's like a little bit of a chip you can put on your shoulder, but I don't really know if that has any effect as far as like when you're in the server. Yeah, we were definitely worried about playing them because they are a top 3 team in the world. I mean, they've consistently placed top 3 at pretty much every tournament they've been to. So going into that, we were definitely a little bit worried about playing them. And yeah, I think actually the way the best of 3 worked out was they beat us on our map, Nuke.
Yep.
We beat them on their map, Dust 2.
Yep.
And then everyone kept telling us to eliminate Inferno because it was their best map.
And you were like, no.
Yeah, and we were like, no, we're going to leave Inferno. We're playing pretty well on it. So I felt like we beat them on like their 2 best maps, but they beat us on what we felt like was our best map at the time. So, or maybe not our best map, but what we thought we would play against them best. Because after watching the other teams had a lot of success against them on Nuke. So I was surprised that they kept it in, to be honest.
Right.
But I mean, they showed they're pretty good on us because they raped us pretty hard.
So right, so I think your team had already made a statement by taking a map off of NIP, like at the previous ESEA LAN, and the fact that you guys had beaten Very Games earlier in this event was already another huge, like, making people like really consider you guys as. I want to say you guys are certainly a top 10 team in the world, and I don't think anybody can argue against me on that, like based on how well you've done at DreamHack and ESWC even and the ESEA LANs. Like, I think you're 100% a top team, if not higher than that. That's my opinion. So you beat Astana Dragons. It was huge. So now you're at semifinals. Like, and let's be real here. You've already like secured almost as much as like the grand final first prize at ESEA at this point. Like, you've pocketed. How much was it at this point? Like, how much was like 30-something thousand?
Oh, at DreamHack?
Yeah, how much prize money did you secure by beating Astana Dragons? Well, it was a pretty solid amount.
It was like 22 or 25K or something like that.
Yeah, not too shabby for like where you placed at in the event. That's like a first place at most places.
Yeah, I know, right?
So then you go up against Fnatic, and like, I feel like this is the most anticlimactic like ending to your DreamHack run, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, you guys have already made it further than most people would have expected, like if you incorporate like the global community. Like, most North Americans figured you could do this well, but most like international people probably thought that you would lose the Very Games in group play and that you would likely go on to take second in that group and you'd be playing someone else in the quarterfinals and probably losing in that too. Like, that would be like the mindset. But you beat Very Games, you take first in your group. Astana Dragons, I'm going to say they threw, whatever. And they play against you guys, and you beat them too. So it's like you're on top of the world almost. And you're going up against Fnatic, which, I mean, they're a good team. They wound up winning the event. But before they won this event, most people would have considered Fnatic like they were inconsistent, right? And they had just picked up a new strat caller. So it's just like no one knows what to expect from Fnatic. But me personally, I was watching Fnatic progress through the tournament. I'm like, wow, they're playing really well. Like they have been playing well the whole tournament. So you go up against Fnatic, and like, what's your mindset now? Like, you have to feel like on top of the world after beating Astana Dragons and moving on to the semifinal. So you're going up against Fnatic. I think it was the next day, right? Like, you didn't play them the same day as Astana Dragons. It was the next day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the next day. Yeah. Because
so what happens? Like, what's the transition here?
Basically what ends up happening was, I think that night it was kind of late and everyone was pretty tired, so I kind of weighed our options that night and I said, let's get some sleep. I'll watch the demos in the morning and I'll tell everyone about kind of what happens in it. So everyone goes to sleep and then we head down to the venue a little bit early. And while everyone's warming up that morning, I'm sitting there just watching Fnatic demos instead of warming up. And I mean, they're right behind me in the venue, so like I know that they're watching me watching their demos. Like they know what I see, and basically a lot of the stuff I saw, I mean, they were running the same stuff like against all the teams. I felt like, and trust me, I have insane respect for Pronex as a caller. I think he like calls so well.
Absolutely.
But after looking at those demos, I was like, okay, so they're running the same stuff on Inferno, and I see what they're doing on Mirage. Okay. I'll just tell people what to do if certain scenarios happen. And I kind of pointed out a couple of their like key strats, like their pistol round, and like had everyone watch like what they did, and said if this happens, then we're gonna do this kind of thing. This is how we're gonna react on the fly, and they saw me, I think, watching their demos, and they like tweaked all of their strats perfectly just to like F with my brain enough so that way
it looked the same, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like even the opening pistol round on Inferno. So I wanted to kind of go through this on my stream just because it's something that really like has bugged me and I haven't really watched it. But when I watched their other match before we played them, they threw this like Molotov down middle, 2 guys rushed down middle, like 3 guys rush mid or something like that, and 2 guys rush banana. And then they basically left Pronax and banana. 1 guy instantly backed off the pit, 1 guy went site, and like 2 guys stayed like around mid or something weird like that. And everything looked exactly the same when we played them, but they kept 2 guys close banana, like 1 in the trees and then 1 in the hard right underneath the concrete. And basically what I decided to do was end up taking banana late, which is exactly actually what Recursive did in their match. And they were able to take B. They just got retaken on by Fnatic. So I figured we would be able to take B too, except we would be able to hold it. So we go B, and there's 3 guys there, just like crossfiring in like 18 different angles. So it was bad, and basically the same shit happened every round, I feel like, and props to them because they completely outsmarted me. And that's why that loss felt so bad, is because after that we went...
Oh, hold on a second. Hiko's rating my channel right now with all of his viewers. Hiko, thank you so much. No. I appreciate that, dude. I really do, man. Thanks so much. Like, I've already hit way more viewers than expected for this. My goal was to hit like 50. Like, that was like, I'd feel good with 50 viewers. And I'm at like 150 almost. So I like tripled what I wanted, basically. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Like, I hate to like break the show here, but I really just like feel the need to thank all of you so much for tuning in. Thanks for the golf claps, and thank you, Hiko, for coming by and saying hello. So basically, we're talking like, okay, so let me just run you through the summary of what we've done so far. We started at ESWC 2012 with Area 51, and we've worked all the way to DreamHack. Like, that's what we've done in the past hour. We're just going to kind of keep going from there, basically. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through everything without too much trouble. So now we're at DreamHack, Fnatic. Things aren't working out. Like, you tried to scout them, demo views. They saw you scouting them. They countered your scout, basically. What else is there to it than that, then?
So that's how Inferno went. And honestly, even though we only got 1 round that T-side, which is crazy because our Inferno, I feel like our T-side's almost guaranteed 6 rounds. We have a really good T-side Inferno, and we also have a really good CT Inferno. And I think we ended up grinding back into that match and getting like 8 or 9 rounds, which is crazy considering that we were down 14-1 and we ended up with 8 or 9 rounds. So if we would have given ourselves a little more cushion, we may have been able to win Inferno. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I mean they could have played differently. We could have played differently with less cushion or with more cushion. So it's hard to say, but looking back, that match sucked. And then knowing that we had to go into Mirage after that was just so, it was disgusting. It was the
I'm
worst
surprised you
feeling
didn't
ever.
veto it. Like, honestly, I really was.
So our choices were to either veto Mirage or veto Train, and their best map is Train, I think, from
Okay, well, fair enough.
what people were telling us. So we vetoed Train instead because we certainly weren't ready to play them on Valve's Train, because we can't get practice in North America on that map. But yeah, so we vetoed Train, and if you watch the demo, actually, we played pretty well, and we countered them like really hard on a couple of like their hits. Like you can like watch, and it's like wow, like they're just blatantly anti-shotted them, and yeah, I mean they didn't do what they did on Inferno on Mirage. They actually ran their normal strats, but they were just better than us, to be honest. It wasn't even fair as far as like Mirage goes, and yeah. I don't know. They were just better than us on Mirage, and our chance was to beat them on Inferno and then beat them on the third map, which I'm not even sure what it was, to be honest. If it was Nuke or
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
All right, so let's summarize complexity right now really quick, going into ESEA LAN, and then we're going to talk about ESEA LAN briefly, then we'll do some Q&A with Chad, even though I don't want to keep you for too much longer because I feel like I've already kept you for a very long time, but I think this is good stuff. People are really going to enjoy the VOD, I think, if they want to learn about your team and yourself. So let's just I'm just gonna this is the picture I have of complexity going to ESEA LAN. You should see this document, guys. I literally have it color coded, stats from every match you've ever played. It's nuts. So what I have gathered is that you guys seem to have the upper hand against Very Games, which is a team that you're gonna face at ESEA LAN. You've beaten them every single time you've played them. Granted, you weren't a part of some of the bigger wins that Very Games had because that was Quantic with Hiko and Symphus and Days and stuff. But the point is that your team historically has done very well against the Very Games roster, right? Not only that, but it seems like every time you get eliminated from a tournament, that team goes on to win it, right? So ESWC 2013, you didn't get eliminated by Mystique, but you lost it in group play. They wound up having a miracle run and beating Very Games in the finals. Then you go on to lose to Fnatic and DreamHack Winner, who then goes on to win the tournament. So, I feel legitimately you guys are top 10 or better in the world at this point, but most Europeans would probably say, no, it's a fluke. Is it a fluke, man? Are you not top teams? Tell me, what do you think? Do you think that you're an international contender at this point? Have you not proven yourselves with your results at DreamHack Winner in previous tournaments?
I think we probably are a top 10 team. It's so hard to say where we are at on the top 10 because I think anyone in the top 10 could be anyone in the top 10 at any given moment. I think VG and NIP, or XVG and NIP, are probably clear-cut 1 and 2. But it's hard to say with a team like us or even iBuyPower because we don't play in as many tournaments as those teams do. So they have opportunities to win and lose a lot more than we do. So when we go over there for a DreamHack, for an ESWC, our results matter 40 times more than their results because they get to play those other teams in 40 more matches. So it's a lot easier to put them on a scale than it is for us. So yeah, our results could be a fluke. They could not be a fluke. It's up to us to kind of solidify our spot on that list by continuing to do well. And I don't expect anyone to put us at 1, 2, or 3 until we're able to do it some more, to answer your question.
I can agree with you there. I don't think it's fair to put you at top 3 because obviously you still have NIP, whatever Very Games becomes. And then we really haven't had a huge international LAN since DreamHack. There was Star Series and stuff like that, but that's really about it that I can come up with off the top of my head. So, and there's been so many things that have happened. Astana Dragons is no longer sponsored, but apparently they still have the same squad. Even though that team at Star Series, they got beat by some random Serbian team. Am I wrong? Or was that team actually well known? Because I had never heard of them before. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Who is this? I'm sorry.
It was the Astana Dragons at the Star Series 8 event.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they lost to some Serbian team.
Yeah, we
Game
played those
Pub?
guys. Yeah, we played those guys quite a bit. And when I said earlier that Like we were
That's
playing.
who eliminated them, by the way. They 2-0'd them.
I know. So that was a team that we played quite a bit when we were boot camping actually, and it was like one of those teams that we used when we just couldn't get like like a known top 10 team, and they're good. They're actually pretty good.
Okay.
The first time we played them, I think it was like in between a bunch of our matches, like I said, and we were just like kind of messing around, and they beat us, and I just was like furious. I was like, what are we doing? Why am I in Sweden wasting my time if this team is
Oh my God.
that I've never even heard of? Like, stop fucking around. And like we went to go get food and came back, and I think we played them again like later on, and we ended up beating them pretty bad. But yeah, they're good. That Nico Linho guy is insane. He's really good.
Okay.
And I think he may have like the best stats in CSGO. I think my friend Jamie from the UK like told me about his stats, and they're like ridiculous. So they're no team that's like a cakewalk by any means. They weren't at that tournament by accident. But with that being said, I think Astana should be able to probably beat them, and that's definitely a huge upset.
Right. So the point is like CSGO right now is kind of in this weird state. Like Fnatic wins DreamHack winner, but they haven't yet had an opportunity to like repeat basically. Your team hasn't had a chance to repeat yet either on your like top 4 performance, but everybody knows that Nip and Varia Games are still kind of sitting at the top of the list. So basically what we have coming up is this, we have ESEA LAN coming up, which, let's be honest, it's mostly going to be a North American thing, unfortunately. I mean, Varia Games will be there, and this will be kind of your opportunity to once again establish dominance over Varia Games since you've beaten them. I mean, let's be real, you've only played them, I think, twice while you were on the roster, and then they played against them one set at an ESEA LAN as Quantic. So I say that they beat Varia Games every time you've played them, but you haven't really played them that many times, like in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. But this is going to be like the next chance for you to beat Varia Games again or lose to them, and then maybe it was a fluke. Who knows? Whatever. Point is, if you go into this event, you've beaten every single team at this event online during the ESA regular season that's from North America. So that includes Homeless. You beat them twice. You beat Mousebaz twice. You beat iBuyPower once, and then they forfeited to you on Nuke. I don't know what the hell that was about. So you come into this event as like the clear North American favorite, like the clear #1 seed from North America. Then you have like Varia Games is, of course, like I guess the favorite team for the whole event, right? For like, how well do you think you're gonna do at this event? Like, I mean, you said you're starting practice today for this event, so that gives you like I guess 2 weeks of prep time. How are you feeling about this event coming off a DreamHack winner, and what you got coming up?
I know personally I'm playing pretty well. I can't really say as far as like the team goes, because like I said, we haven't played since really, I mean, our last ESEA matches. I don't even know when that was. Like, we kind of I let everyone just do their own thing over the break, and honestly, we've all remained pretty active. It'll be interesting to see how we play today, especially because I think I'm gonna hold like a practice on our first day rather than like allowing everyone to just scrim.
That and everybody on your team is streaming now, like a lot. So Hiko's about to be the next big thing on Twitch TV, like if you don't already know. Like, this guy's pulling sick viewers. Nothing pulls sick viewers. And it's like they're sharing, right? Because Hiko streams like during the day, and then like nothing takes over at nighttime. And they literally just like run the CSGO board for right now. And then Simphus even started streaming recently. And you've like tried to stream. I don't know what happened to it, but like you had a decent viewership whenever you tried it yourself. So
I had like 500 viewers. Like,
yeah, you're doing good.
It was pretty cool.
You're doing really good.
I definitely. It was fun, but I mean, I don't know. It's not really for me all the time. So sometimes I like pop in and out. But speaking of Hiko, it's pretty funny because actually Trey messaged me, TCK, and goes, "Does Hiko think he's Oprah Winfrey with this streaming shit? He runs midday time slot. I can't take this shit." And that's why I laughed halfway through the interview, because I read that. Like,
Hiko is like picking up streaming by the reins, and he's a really damn good streamer. Like, he interacts with his chat very, very well. He's a good player. I guess this is a segue to streaming in general for CSGO. It's climbing for sure. Viewership's climbing for sure. The game's climbing for sure. It hit over 100,000 players not too long ago. I think it was like just a couple of days ago. It was the #2 game on Steam behind Dota 2. So in general, you're going to ESEA LAN. You feel pretty confident about it, I'm sure. You got some practice to do, but you feel confident, I'm sure. So let's just move on then to the future of CSGO, and that entails tournaments, streaming, viewership, support, it's growing, right? DreamHack winner was like the lighting the fuse. Maybe we already have another $250,000 tournament announced in Poland at IAM in March. I'm gonna mispronounce this, but it's like Katowice or something like that. I don't know how to say it, but either way, it's like
how to say it.
it's Polish. So I'm sorry, but I know it's not Katowice or something stupid like that. It's like Katowice or Katowice. I'm saying it wrong. Someone in chat knows how to say it. I'm sure that if they're like a European viewer. Anyway, so how does the future CS:GO look bright to you? Or
Yeah, it does. So I think Valve has done a fantastic job as far as like promoting the game. That's one thing that no one can say that they've done a bad job in. I remember before, I think it was ESWC, ESWC last year, not the most recent one, but the one like 2012. I remember looking at the stats, it was like 15,000 viewers or 15,000 gamers a day, and like 1.6 was still way above it. And it was depressing to like look at that and then come on for practice 5 days a week. And I just kept telling myself, stick with it. Maybe it'll come around. Just give it like another year. So going into this ESWC, I think the viewers were at like 30,000, or like the players per day. I don't know why I keep saying viewers.
mm-hmm.
The players per day, I think, was at like 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And at DreamHack, they did before DreamHack, they did like a couple sales, and I think it like climbed to like 70 or like 80 or something like that at DreamHack, like while we were at DreamHack. And then now, when I just checked it just now, the max today was like 100K, which is insane.
Yeah. It's
like,
been peaking 100K since a couple of days ago.
I can't believe that the game has grown that much so fast.
Yeah, and let me also tell you the evolution of viewership really quick. So I can kind of vouch for this. So ESEA LAN Season 12, the first CSGO LAN ever in North America. I was privileged to get to cast it. We only had, at maximum in the grand finals, like maybe 1,000 to 2,000 viewers, okay? So we move on to the next ESEA LAN, right? This is the big global one. So I think we hit 10,000 at our max, or 12,000, right? So then we go into the last ESEA LAN. Max was 25,000. So let's move on to DreamHack winner, right? Let's not forget that all the European events are like around 10,000, like every single time. DreamHack almost hit 100K on Twitch. If you added up like all the channels, like the different languages, you probably would have like gotten pretty close. But I remember the grand final on the English stream was around 90-something thousand. It almost hit 100K. It may have. I know if you add in-game Go TV with stream, it was over 150,000 if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
It was the Valve guys were very happy with it. I don't really know the numbers exactly, but I know for a fact that the Valve guys were happy with the numbers from DreamHack.
Yeah.
And I came back and I read a lot of posts on the forums about how it was like a, I'm trying to think of like the saying. I don't know the saying I'm trying to think of, but it was like just random, like that they promoted the game. A lot of people instantly came to it. It was front page of Twitch. The game was on discount. Like all these things factored in the fact that the numbers were large for a short amount of time, and that following the event, the numbers were going to plummet again.
But they're not.
And they're not. They're actually growing.
Don't get me wrong. We're not hitting 90,000 viewers again, and we probably won't until we actually have like a credible big tournament that brings in attraction. But I think like the POV streamers, and like Hiko could probably tell you best since he's in chat and he's like just kicking off. Some other people here like Shazam finally got his sub button. That wouldn't have happened like, you know, maybe 6 months ago when viewership was down. I mean, we're not hitting amazing numbers, but we're top 8 on Twitch almost every single day, if not top 5 whenever everyone's like streaming. Like when the Nip guys are going at it, when Hiko's going at it, and they're all pulling 4-figure viewers. Like, it gets nuts. And more people are trying to stream it, like myself, even though I'm kind of failing. Like, this is the most viewers I've ever had on my channel, by the way. This is like nuts. I really appreciate it. So with that being said, the future CSGO looks bright. You're looking forward to ESEA LAN. Like I said, to preface ESEA LAN, you guys have beaten all the North American teams online so far. You've done better in international competition, and the only other team that's been in international competition is iBuyPower, and you've certainly done better than they have results-wise. So you're the favorite North American team going into this event. You've beaten Very Games in the past, so there's like that chance that you could just win this whole event against Very Games and pull another upset against them. Or like you're looking at second place probably guaranteed unless you get upset by like an iBuyPower or a Mousebaz or something like that. But I think you're looking more forward, right? So obviously this new $250,000 tournament has to have some kind of gleam in your eye, right? Like, obviously you want to take one event at a time, but let's be real here. That you know another $250,000 tournament is coming up. I mean, are you guaranteed going? I mean, I know you got the invite, but I guess you can't like confirm. Or can you confirm now that you're definitely going, or you have no idea?
I mean, I can't confirm 100%, but it'd be hard envisioning us not going,
Okay.
being that it's, again, the biggest. It's the same thing as DreamHack, but it's the biggest.
Yeah, it's
tournament,
DreamHack again, right, with
yeah,
IAM.
Yeah.
And I have, like, solid idea that it's going to go really well, because ESL is probably running it, which is, like, Red Eye and Joe Miller and Pansy and all those guys. And their quality has always been amazing for their IAM events, like in their studio and stuff. So I can almost guarantee that the production value will be great for this. By the way, Fatal, you can go ahead and start sending me the questions on Steam that you got compiled from chat. If you guys have questions, you can put them in chat. We'll get to them. I can't get to all of them, unfortunately. Like, this stream's already been running for quite some time. It'll probably only maybe run like another 20 minutes most, because I don't want to keep holding up Sean from like doing what he needs to do for his team and stuff like that. But while I'm waiting for Fatal to send me those questions over, I do want to go ahead and once again thank everybody for tuning in. I will be doing more episodes of this show. The next episode is either going to be iBuyPower or Mouse Spaz, and I'll just basically do the same thing, get with one of their players, review their team, building up to the ESEA LAN that's going to be happening January 17th through 19th, which I'm pretty sure I'll be at, unless they're going to cancel my plane tickets. I'm pretty sure I'm going. So I can at least confirm that much for you. But thanks so much. If you don't mind, you can definitely follow up. I'll type the thing so you can see all the links. Basically, the VOD of this talk show will be on the YouTube that you see in chat. It's just youtube.com/JustMoret. Also, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter if you want. I do tweet and Facebook posts when I'm streaming, when I'm casting esports-related stuff, so if you want to follow, it's cool. And also, you can hit the follow button on Twitch, because this is where I'll be live streaming all the talk shows. And also, I do stream on here just every day, playing CSGO, DayZ, whatever. I'm streaming on here, so if you guys want to watch me play when I'm not doing a talk show, that'd be great, too. I'd really appreciate that, actually. But yeah, I'm just waiting for the questions to get sent my way. Looks like I just got a link to the stuff for it. So
before we do questions, something I wanted to do was just kind of give a shout out to all
our
sponsors.
I was totally gonna let you do that anyway, but go for it.
That make really everything possible for us, as like the boot camps, all these tournaments and everything. I'm sure all of you guys know already, but from Hiko's stream and Jordan's stream and even mine or Corey's, Sound Blaster, Newegg, Creative, Twish, Leak Gaming, DX Racer, and Scuff Gaming too. So in addition to that, all of our managers and really everyone that's constantly helping us, Chris, Ann, Trace, really everyone as far as like who's on constant contact with us on Skype and just giving us like Twitter backgrounds, in addition to like the Jasons, obviously, that everyone knows, Lake and Bass. Really, everyone in the Cole org has been so supportive for us and been there like every step of the way. So I can't say that any step in this whole journey has been like on a wrong foot at all. So definitely thankful to all of them, in addition to like all the people that support us, like the fans for Hiko and Jordan and everyone that's supporting us through like subscribing and donations and things like that. I mean, that's huge as far as keeping us motivated and keeping the game, you know, at this high level that it's at. So we all appreciate that a tremendous amount.
I think you guys actually literally with this one show alone have pushed me into partnership, because now I have quality options. I don't know if that's like just for this one stream right now or if that's like for the future, but thanks. That's pretty awesome. Also, I inconspicuously put seangares' Twitter handle right underneath his little video camera there. So definitely give Sean a follow on Twitter. It's at seangares on Twitter. Definitely give him a follow, as well as compLexity Live on Twitter as well, and all that good stuff. And now, oh god, flashbang dance. There you go. Do I need to get the bowl and do the bowl cut dance that nothing did? I can go do that if I need to.
Dude, you sleep on a golden bed. Like, I've heard that saying before, I'm pretty sure, but you actually sleep on a golden bed. That's sick.
Really? It's not golden, it's like brown. It's like, it's a very neutral color. Do you Alright, I'm done. I'm done trying. It's not gold, but I promise you it doesn't look that bright in person. It's like right next to like two big ass bright lights, so whatever. If you think it's gold, you can think it's gold. I don't give a shit. Yeah, I sleep on a gold bed, fucker. Anyway, yeah, that's right, I said that word. Alright, so first question. You ready, Sean? Here we go. We're going to run through these as quick as possible because I don't want to hold you up. First question comes from Fatal, and his question was, what advice would you give to players who are trying to start getting competitive in Counter-Strike and would like to be an in-game leader?
So for being like an in-game leader, I'd say a lot of people are going to tell you to like look at demos and watch like the top teams play. The thing that you should probably look at the most, not the actual strats that these top teams are running, not like, hey, they throw this smoke there, that smoke there. Watch how they rotate and like just watch how they move around the map. So like when CTs are moving around, when a T throws a smoke somewhere, how are the CTs going to react? Is a guy going to gravitate to a certain area? It's pretty much consistent across the board for all the top teams. So looking at how teams move as CTs are going to help you as far as a strat caller for how you design your strats. It's constantly changing. So even though all the top teams are going to do like similar stuff at an event, it may change at the next event. So it's important to stay on top rotations. That's the one thing that matters the most. And from there, design your strats.
Cool. So next question is kind of similar. It comes from Evo Warrior, aka Steven. He wants to know, like, if you want to become a pro player, like, what do you have to do to go about doing that? Like, what's your best advice for getting better at the game, I guess, in general?
It depends on the type of player you want to be, and who you're going to play with, what role you want to be on the team. A lot of people that like watch a lot of the pro matches don't understand that every team has like really specific roles. So if you want to be like an opper, chances are you're going to be the only one on the team. If you want to be like a really aggressive rifle person that's like kind of entering the sights, you're going to be the only one on the team. If you want to be the guy like Hiko or like a lurker like Get Right or someone like that, you're going to be the only guy on the team that does that. Or do you want to be like the guy that like supports and like kind of flashes and is like grinding out like clutch situations, more like kind of like I don't want to say like swag, but like because swag isn't really that kind of player, but I mean each team has like specific roles, so it depends on what kind of player you want to be and develop those skills. Don't spread yourself too thin with learning a bunch of shit that you don't need to know. Don't practice opping if you're trying to be an aggressive rifle person. If you want to be a shot caller, focus on what I said earlier about rotations and things like that. Don't waste your time doing other stuff, you know, like surfing and stuff like that. That's not going to help you.
Wow, because a lot of pro players surf, so are you sure there's no correlation between surfing and being good at the video game?
You know, maybe that's why I'm not too good at this game.
Yeah, maybe you should. You're so online, Sean. Can I be honest?
This guy, like, will go into the biggest match of his life and not DM around. He'll just go into a surf server.
Yeah, Forrest, dude, he's nuts. They're all nuts. That whole team, just surf all day. But yeah, you're on. I watched you. Did you remember that you like got this sick ace with an op? And I was just like, wow, you're so online.
Yeah, I remember like the PM game. Like
yeah, it was funny. Yeah, but no, you're not online. Yep. I'm just kidding, dude. You actually have been coming up with sick stuff. Like I remember the Dust 2 like crack peak on Cat that does 100 damage. Not many people knew about that. That was like pretty crafty.
Yeah, we were like messing with that a little bit at boot camp. I knew it before boot camp, but I mean like the ankles and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean I'm trying to like kind of dedicate myself a little bit more because last season was kind of a shit show as far as like my dedication went as a leader, and the boot camp really motivated me to like play more. And people have noticed like my hours have gone from being like ridiculously
you
low,
play every day. It seems like I'm always seeing you like at least matchmaking with friends or something. Like you're definitely playing a lot.
Yeah.
Also, you heard it here first. Seangares has learned smoke grenades from me.
It's true, actually. It's true.
Boom.
I watch YouTube videos for smoke grenades all the time, and that's another good way. Like if you're looking for something fast, you don't have to sit in a server for 4 hours.
You can just watch my YouTube videos, which I graciously have provided you.
The game has grown in such like an awesome way that you can, if you're looking for a smoke grenade, it's probably already been found and it's likely already on YouTube. So just look for it, and you don't have to sit there throwing it for 4 hours in a server to find it because it already exists. So
I found it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just as a couple of them.
Anyway, so let's go on to the next question. I want to get. There's actually not a whole lot, so we should be able to get these pretty quickly. What's the secret behind being so handsome? Ed77 asked that. I felt that wasn't too vulgar. Let me just be real. Everybody's been talking about like your muscles and like how good you look. Like, But so this like I'm just gonna let this one question represent like literally 80% of chat for the past 2 hours. So yeah, dude, what's the secret? It's
Dude,
those traps, dude. I'm
I don't
telling
know.
you.
Yeah, I guess so, right? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
I mean, you work out every day, right? So he just takes care of
No,
himself. I
I
mean,
really don't.
oh, you don't?
So like
Okay.
I've only worked out like one day this whole New Year. Good New Year's resolution,
Well,
right?
it's a
Just go the
holiday
opposite
break.
way.
It's a given, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't even know, man. That's a weird
He
question.
was just born that way.
I guess so, right?
Sorry.
It's in my New
Anyway,
Orleans blood. New
yeah.
Orleans shirt. Kidding.
I don't have my New Orleans shirt on. I have an LSU shirt in the closet, even though they didn't do anything this year besides win the Outback Bowl, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, next question up is it's a pretty good question actually. So I actually always wondered this, like, what's the best way? When you're up against another team and they have like really good momentum, this comes from Madre Goose, by the way. So like you're up against a team that has a lot of momentum, you're down several rounds. Like, how do you turn things around for yourself when you're in that situation?
That's a really good question because I think we're one of those teams that can really grind out like a lot of rounds when we're down. So honestly, the main thing is that if you're down, you have to analyze why you're down. Are you down because what you're doing isn't working, or are you down because like you're losing 1v3s, 3v3s, and late game things? So you have to analyze why you're down, and you really need to make adaptations based on that. If you're losing like 1v3s and things like that, you may want to keep doing the same thing with like a little bit of a twist involved, just so that way teams think you're doing something different, but you're really kind of keeping things the same. It really depends, to be honest. I can't answer that question with a simple kind of black or white answer.
I understand. Also, next question comes from the same person. Madre Goose was asking, what do you think about the auto sniper? Is it a legitimate weapon? I think it's OP, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous sometimes. Like on certain maps, I think it's so OP. Like when we played in that compLexity online tournament against iBuyPower, part of the reason why they came back was because they had 3 auto snipers on CT side, and it was just impossible for us to enter places. And if you look at our results, I think we played a couple matches on cash earlier that day for the tournament, and our T sides were just like off the hook for like our cash. They were like 11 rounds, 12 rounds. We were doing really well on our T sides, but I don't know. When you're going up against like all those auto snipers on cash, it is hard. It's really hard. Yeah, I don't know. Some maps it is, some maps it's not. It's hard. It's hard to give an answer to that too, I guess.
Everybody just saw me like rage throw my phone across the room because it keeps blowing up. Anyway, so another question comes in from, I have no idea what this dude's name is. I'm trying. It's like fat spelled with a PH and Xen, so Fatixen, whatever. Asking like about Hiko's role in the team. Why is he in that role? Do you feel that he's kind of a lurker because he's like your best option for a clutch, or is that just his tendency? Like, how do you pick the roles for the players on your team? Basically, would be like a better question, I think.
Heeks has always been like that kind of lurker role. Honestly, he's probably the only person in North America that can do what he does. Like he's a really special player as far as that goes, and um, it's crazy. Like I have like the utmost respect for him. I know Days does personally from like talking with him and like things like that. Hiko's like a one of a kind player, like a get right kind of
The dude's
person.
nuts.
Yeah, where he has like tremendous skill as far as like aim goes and teamwork and things like that. But he's able to like sit in a corner for like a minute and a half if that's what benefits the team the most.
All right, so this segues into another question actually pretty well. And who do you think the best North American team? Who do you think the best North American player is, in your opinion, and why? I honestly think it is Hiko, in my opinion. But what do you think it is?
I mean, I'm like one of those people that I can't really say that there's like a best player.
Best for their role, then. So like best opper,
Best,
best lurker,
oh,
best
like
entry man. Can we go
I
that
think
route?
yeah, like Hiko is definitely like the best lurker. Like I said, like I don't think there's anyone even close to him in North America as far as that role goes. Um, I mean, there's like tons. I think Jordan and Corey are like the best at being like a really aggressive like rifle person. And I think Prax is probably like the best as far as like a passive rifle person. It It depends. Like I watch like Anger's stream sometimes. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen anyone in North America with aim like that. Like no one on our team can like DM and hit shots like that. That's for sure. So like there's different kinds of players. Like Anger has that like scream aim when I watched him DM that one time. And I couldn't join a DM and like one shot all those people like that, even though like I'm actually pretty good at DM. But that was pretty crazy when I was watching his stream that one day. And I guess Daze is like probably like a really, really good all around player too. And Skadoodle's probably like one of the best oppers. I mean, each player is different, and I don't think you can like weigh them out because their roles are totally different.
Right. I think like this because people always talk about like who's the best team on complexity, right? And like Thorin at DreamHack made it seem like nothing was like really what made or broke your team. Basically, like either nothing's playing really well and your team's successful, or nothing's not playing like at his best, and so then you're not as successful, right? And yeah. I mean, he did mention you guys too, and he did, you know, break you guys down a little bit. But I felt like he put a lot of weight on nothing, and I think that that's somewhat true. I think it's actually a lot true because when nothing's at his peak, he's like just ridiculous. Like it's like you can't stop this kid, and he's always had that reputation his whole life as a professional player. But honestly, Hiko has statistically been your best player at every event you've played in. And I don't know that's just because of his lurker role, he gets more opportunities to get frags and do damage, or if it's just because he's nuts, which I think it's a little bit of both. So what do you think makes or breaks your team? Is there like a particular player that you need to rely on to do well, or do you feel that your team's well-rounded enough to where if someone is like having an off game, that the rest of you guys can still carry it?
I mean, honestly, I think it's hard to answer that question. I mean, we've had matches where like kind of like anyone can top, so I don't think anyone in particular needs to like go apeshit and go crazy. Generally, if Hiko has a lot of frags, it's because probably one of us isn't doing so hot. So like, if Jordan's playing insane, then Hiko can't get a lot of kills because Jordan's entering sites and killing everyone. So it's tough to say. I mean, because like if Jordan. I mean, even if Jordan's getting like gayed like 15 rounds in a row, like he's getting shot in the side of the head by like some like weird crossfire that we weren't prepared for, like Hiko's in a good enough role where he can like always get a lot of kills, you know? Like, and I'm not even saying lurking's easy because if anyone's ever lurked in CS:GO, it's really hard actually. So Hiko's actually really impressive at what he does as far as like the lurker role.
Right. So I had like a bunch of questions that have like a similar theme, and I want to like try to get through these. Like we've already kind of talked about like what your team needs to do to get better. Do you have any like someone? It's in general. The only thing I really add on to it is do you have any opinion or advice on like how to structure practice or like how to do practice? Like what advice would you have for teams that are like trying to like make a practice schedule, or like what should they focus on in practice, for example?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing about practice in general is when you go over a map, you want to have enough time to like at least experience it one time afterwards so that you can kind of soak it in. So you want to like have the days of like dry running and like going over strats. You want to have those like your longer days, and you want to have like your scrim days be your shorter days. So like for us last season, it was like our Tuesdays, Thursdays were like our really short days. So we planned those around just being scrim oriented days on those 2 days, whereas the other days we use more as like kind of tactics, and then we would practice maybe like tactics even if it was for 30 minutes. But with that being said, another thing kind of like in the overall picture is you don't want to forget about the maps you've already practiced, which is really hard in the format that North America is currently structured as far as like ESEA and CVO. I think I've heard CVO is changing stuff up next season, but I don't know if that's true. But like with there being one map a week, and after you're done with this map, you're not gonna see it for another, I mean, what is it, like 9 weeks? So if it's even in the playoffs, you don't know if it's in the playoffs at that time. So a lot of teams have the tendency to like play a map and they'll never play it again. And by the time they play it again, they're a completely different team. And yeah, they may have 16-2'd a team in the regular season, but you don't know if that team played a shit ton, if they're weak on that map, or blah, 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 because you've been playing this map all week, maybe they were playing it all week. I don't know. Maybe they play with a backup. You don't know. So it can either give you false confidence or vice versa. It could kind of be a thing where you practiced all week and you lost, and it could be something that kills your team. So all I'm trying to say is, like, you should play multiple maps, and that's a large reason why. Another reason why boot camping in Europe is really helpful, because you're playing 3 maps per team that you play and not 1 map per team that you play.
So you heard it here first. If you want to be good, you should go boot camp in Europe. It's basically
Exactly.
the explanation.
Exactly.
All right. So we have just a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. Big question here is what, like, I don't know if this is more for you or me, actually. I think you'd be able to answer it. It's like, what is your opinion on the production of esports currently? Like, if you compare League of Legends, like the way they do their events, like how they broadcast the production value versus DreamHack Winter, as well as other tournaments. Do you want to comment on this, or?
I'm actually like a one-trick pony when it comes to games. I mean, I've watched a couple StarCraft events. Like,
well, compare, like, how do you feel the production value is, like, if you compare CSGO event to CSGO event? Like, maybe that'll help you answer the question. If you don't want to answer it, I'll field it, but, like...
I mean, I wasn't there to, like, really watch DreamHack. I kind of, like, watched it first person while there. But I thought it was pretty good, to be honest. I thought they did a really good job. I was watching it on, like, the big screen. Rather than sitting behind the teams, I would watch it on the big screen. And it was awesome. I've never seen anything like that as far as, like, CS goes in person, so that was cool.
Okay, so I'm going to do this really briefly. All right, DreamHack Winter did a great job, but I think for the amount of money that the tournament was worth, that they could have done a little bit better. It's just my opinion, but I think it was still really good. ESL does a hell of a damn good job. Like, they do so well. Like, literally, ESL, the EMS events, production quality is spectacular. And then I'll tell you what really threw me for a loop is, what is the tournament that Similar and Anders were doing right after DreamHack Winter, with, like, the one that was, like, sponsored by McDonald's and stuff? It was
like the Sweden Cup or something, maybe? Was that what it was?
No, God, I can't remember the name of it. I can't believe I can't remember this.
I know what you're talking about, too.
I know what I'm talking about as well, but I just can't think of the name of it. Like, it was a huge tournament. It was, like, sponsored by McDonald's and a couple other companies. And it was Similar and Anders pretty much the whole time. Someone in chat is going to, like, remember this, so I'm just going to wait for it. But I'll say the name out loud, but let me just comment on what it was. Like, phenomenal job on production, probably the best I've seen for CSGO. As far as that goes, I mean, StarCraft 2 and League of Legends and Dota 2 actually have a lot more money to invest in production, and they do a great job as well. But Fragbite Masters, that's what it was. Wow, did they not do a great job of production value? I was impressed a lot by them. So yeah, I think ESL with the EMS events and then Fragbite have done the best so far in production for CSGO, but DreamHack certainly wasn't too shabby. And I'm almost positive with ESL helping with this IAM next $250,000 tournament, that's going to be off-the-chain production, like guaranteed probably. I'm trying to work better with, like, we have a decent production team at ESEA, but sometimes the casters and the production team don't see eye to eye, and so we're trying to solve that problem by seeing eye to eye better, because I think us casters kind of know what we want to see, and they seem to think they're experts, and sometimes I think that they just need to listen to the caster. But we're working on that. So ESEA production for this next LAN should be loads better than what it's been in the past, because we've been talking a lot about it. And so the last question that I have for you before I let you go, Sean, is just somebody already asked about the Molly strat on Inferno. He's already answered that. He got it from Universal Soldiers. It was off a stream, not even a demo. Who do you think is the best North American team right now? Are you clearly it, or is iBuyPower still a rival that could dethrone you? What's your thoughts on, like, the North American scene? That's the last question.
I think as far as, like, CS goes, it's so, as you kind of steal your terminology earlier, it's like a roller coaster ride. Teams are up and down, so I can't really say who's where because we haven't played in a while. I'd like to think it's us, but who knows? Maybe we played today and we're terrible. We get 16-2 3 times in a row, and it sucks. But I like to think it's us, and putting in the work after 2 weeks, I like to think it's going to be us, and I'm confident that if we put in enough work, it will be us. But I don't like to overlook anyone, so yeah.
So let's just say you win ESEA or you come second to Varied Games. I mean, what are your thoughts going into this next big $250,000 tournament, which will probably be like the next LAN you go to if you go to one after ESEA?
Yeah, the $250,000 tournament in Poland, Katowice, I think, or something weird like that. Pretty excited about that. I've obviously never been over on that side of Europe. So it's going to be exciting to go out there. I'm excited about the competition. Excited to see how they're going to do the seeding. If DreamHack is going to be how they use the seeding. Maybe like those 8 teams that they invited, do those teams have a higher seed than the other 8 teams? I don't know.
You're probably automatically in group without having to go through some type. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but like I don't know if they're gonna like spread it out where like first place team, second place team, third place team, fourth place team, fifth, sixth, seventh,
You got
eighth,
me, man.
you
No
know,
idea.
kind of. But it's interesting to see how they're gonna do that. I know, as you said, like ESL is known to have really good stream quality. I have heard that before. So I'm sure they'll do a great job. I thought DreamHack was awesome. I've never seen that much dedication for like gaming. So it'll be really fun to go back over there and maybe experience something like that again. I don't know what this event's gonna be like though, to be honest.
There you have it. So any final words, shout outs? I know you already kind of gave some sponsorship shout outs from compLexity, but I'll let you do it again and plug yourself, of course, as well. So this is your time to just take the mic and do what you will.
Yeah, again, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors that really make everything possible. So like Sound Blaster, Newegg, Creative, Twitch, Leak Gaming, DX Racer, and Scuff. A lot of people see like Heeks and Jordan's DX Racer chairs. They're so sick. We actually used them throughout the boot camp. So those are like really nice high-end chairs.
I would love a chair from DX Racer.
Yeah.
They're so expensive, but so good.
We all have the Sound Blaster headphones. I use these. I think the other guys are using...
They're using the Furies.
Yeah, the other guys are using the Furies. I still use these, though. I have the Furies. They're actually sitting right next to me, still in the box. But I actually really like these headphones, so...
There you
go. Yeah, so, I mean, thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of our fans. I feel like there's been, like, a large amount of people that have supported us after DreamHack, and it feels, like, so good to have that support again. Because there was a time before DreamHack where people kind of came off of our bandwagon. So, I mean, it does help. I don't know if I can really quantify how much it helps, but it's nice to see like comments and people supporting us after like the hard work we put in to get the results that we got. So it's nice. Yeah. So we all appreciate the support.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for coming in, dude. Like, I'm so glad you were able to take out some time of your day and come and speak with me. And for those of you who like missed a lot of it, because I think we only had like maybe 50 viewers for the first 30 or so minutes, the full VOD of this talk show will be available on this Twitch page in the highlights section. I will also put it up on my YouTube, so you'll be able to view all of it. Or rewatch it if you want. Certainly spread it around. I honestly really think, even though this lasted a long time, if you wanted to know about compLexity, CSGO, or seangares, I feel like you would have learned almost everything you could imagine out of this. And that was really my goal, is to get like a more in-depth just look at these teams and players. Next episode will feature either MouseSpaz or iBuyPower, if I'm not mistaken. I know I've gotten in contact with both those teams, and both of them have agreed to do it. I just haven't been able to schedule them a day yet. So we're working on that. So be on the lookout for an episode 2 and 3 pretty soon, before the LAN for sure. So within the next couple of weeks. And then I haven't gotten, like, United 5 hasn't got back in touch with me yet, and neither has Homeless. But I wanted to do all the teams before the LAN. So we'll just see what happens. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be around for a little bit longer after Sean leaves if you want to, ask me questions or talk with me. But I'm going to let Sean go. Appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to follow here on Twitch, as well as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. All my links are in chat right now. I do stream on Twitch when I'm not doing the talk show as well, just my POV of me playing games. So if you want to hang out with me, that's cool too. Really appreciate all of you tuning in, but I'm going to let Sean go. So if you're here for the Sean interview, it's pretty much coming to a close, so you can leave now. You're not going to miss anything. But if you want to speak with me for a bit before I sign off, that'd be cool too. But thanks again, Sean. Anything else before I let you go, man?
No, thanks again for having me. And yeah, if you guys ever want to like see what I'm up to, or if I'm streaming, just be sure to follow me on Twitter or follow me on Twitch. It's right below my little picture right there, at seangares. So
what's your Twitch? Is it Twitch esgares?
Yeah, I think it's esgares. I think it's just esgares. So
all right, I'm typing those links in chat as well, so you can just easily click on it and follow. Makes it a lot easier for you guys. So there you go. There you have it. Seangares from compLexity. We broke down his team pretty well, I think, and appreciate you again, and have a good day, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. Well, there you have it, guys. That was seangares from compLexity, and that is the end of this episode of The Hype. At this point, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. I might play a few games before I leave, but it is the national championship game for college football, and a team from my state is in the game. It's like not the team that I'm a fan of. It's Auburn. Like, I could care less about Auburn, to be honest, but some friends of mine were trying to have like a little get-together. So I'm probably going to go do that. But like I said, if you want to catch me streaming, I stream almost every single day for at least some amount of time, either in the afternoon or late at night. So you can definitely follow me up on Twitch, and you'll catch me streaming games. Also, the talk show you just saw will always be hosted on this Twitch channel. I will definitely post that information for the next one as soon as it happens. Yeah, so that's pretty much where it goes. You'll see more episodes of The Hype on this channel. You'll see me streaming on this channel. All that good stuff will be right here. And my YouTube will have all the VODs from the show, so you can catch it and spread it around. Other than that, like I said,